silencing everything, grief included. But for Eliza Carter, the quiet only made her thoughts louder. Each step she took along the frozen road echoed with memories she couldn't outrun. The town lay behind her like a place she no longer belonged to. Its wooden buildings lined in white, its windows glowing with warmth meant for other people, other lives. In front of her creaked a small, battered wooden cart, its wheels stiff with ice, its weight far heavier than it appeared. Inside, wrapped in layers of worn quilt stitched by trembling hands, lay her infant son, Thomas. His tiny cheeks were flushed red from the cold, his breath shallow but steady. He was all she had left in the world. Only 3 weeks earlier, she had stood beside a grave while men hacked through frozen earth to bury her husband. Daniel Carter had promised her a future filled with small joys and steady work. A simple life built on love. Fever took him instead, leaving Eliza a widow at 23, with a baby barely old enough to smile and a heart still, learning how to beat without breaking. Grief had not yet loosened its grip when reality arrived at her door. That very morning, the landlord had evicted her with polite words and empty eyes. Rent unpaid, time up. No exceptions. Eliza had not cried. Pride was the last thing she owned, and she refused to surrender it. So she packed what little remained, placed Thomas in the cart, and walked. The cold gnawed at her through her thin dress, the wind slicing down from the mountains like a living thing. Snow gathered in her hair, melted, then froze again.
Oh dear.
Her hands bled where the wood rubbed her palms raw, but she did not stop. People passed her without slowing. Some looked away. Others watched with pity they never acted upon. A young widow was a reminder of how quickly life could unravel. And most people preferred not to be reminded. It was near the center of town that she noticed him. He stood apart, unmoving, as though the world had formed around him but never claimed him. Tall and broad-shouldered, wrapped in leather and fur, he looked carved from the mountains themselves. His beard was thick, his arms bare despite the cold, marked by scars earned through survival. Mountain men were spoken of in whispers, wild, dangerous, better avoided. Eliza felt her stomach tighten as she approached, instinctively drawing closer to the cart. He stepped forward and removed his heavy coat, holding it out to her without a word. The moment stretched between them. Charity. That was what it was. Charity from a stranger. Eliza's chest tightened, heat rising behind her eyes. She had already lost her home, her husband, her place in the world. She would not lose her dignity, too. "I don't need it," she said quietly. "You're freezing," he replied, his voice low and rough but not unkind. "Your child, too." She lifted her chin and met his eyes. Clear, steady, lonely. "Then I'll endure," she said. "I didn't ask for help." A ripple of surprise moved through the nearby townsfolk. Widows didn't refuse help. Poor women didn't refuse fur coats in the snow. But Eliza did. She pushed the cart past him, boots slipping, heart pounding. The man remained frozen behind her, coat still in his hands, watching as she disappeared down the road. That refusal struck something deep inside him. He had expected gratitude or fear, not pride, not quiet strength. Long after she was gone, her image remained burned into his mind. Her shaking shoulders, her refusal to bow, her determination to survive. For the first time in years, something other than the mountains pulled at him. By nightfall, the storm worsened. Eliza found shelter in an abandoned stable on the edge of town, its roof sagging, its door barely hanging on. It was poor shelter, but it blocked the wind. She laid hay beneath the cart and wrapped Thomas tighter. Whispering reassurances, she barely believed herself. The cold crept into her bones, fear settling in her chest. What if her child fell sick? What if she didn't wake? Then came footsteps. Slow, heavy, certain, heart racing. Eliza grabbed a broken plank and stood between the sound and her son. The door creaked open, lantern light spilling across the floor. The mountain man stepped inside, snow clinging to his hair and beard. He carried firewood and a lantern, his presence calm, controlled. "I didn't come to hurt you," he said quietly. "I saw where you were headed." Suspicion warred with exhaustion. "I didn't ask you to follow me," she said. "I know," he replied. "But the child needs warmth." He lit a fire, warmed water, and placed it gently within her reach. He made no demands, kept his distance, and spoke only when necessary. When he turned to leave, Eliza surprised herself by stopping him. "You never said your name." "Caleb," he replied. "Caleb Wilder."
"Eliza, and this is Thomas."
Something softened in his eyes when he looked at the child. Before leaving, he held out the coat again. This time she accepted, not because she had lost her pride, but because survival mattered more. Caleb returned the next day, and the next. He brought food, repaired the stable, stood watch through the worst nights. He spoke little, but when he did, his words carried weight. Eliza learned he lived alone in the mountains. Having lost everyone he loved years ago, solitude had been easier than grief. Slowly, in the quiet warmth of shared survival, something began to mend in both of them. One night, as snow fell softly, Eliza offered the coat back. Caleb shook his head. "I meant it then," he said. "I mean it now." She looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time since Daniel's death, she felt something other than pain, hope. Outside, winter still ruled the land. But inside the broken stable, something new was born. Not loud, not sudden, but strong enough to last. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel now. Stories like this remind us that love often finds us when we are cold, broken and alone, and refuses to let us freeze. Don't miss the next part.